Hello and welcome in, everyone. SSBills Talk, episode number 3 of season 1. I am Lawrence Foster alongside Dr. Dungan. Welcome into this 2025 NFL pre-night of the draft. Dr. Dungan, how are we feeling?
Dude, I'm super pumped. I've been talking about it all day. My students could not care less, but I don't care. My daughter cares even less about it. I don't care. Wear my Bills jersey to work tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm excited.
It's the last kind of exciting thing about the off season until training camp starts. So
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think that's part of the reason why. It's because, we know it. This is the last thing to get excited for it. And even that, it's really, obviously Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm pretty casual with it. But yeah, Thursday and Friday, it's all draft.
it's a way to do it. So that leads us into our show tonight. It's going to be a brief one. We will be on post night 1 and 2, giving our thoughts and on everything that transpired for the Bills and a little bit on the rest of it. But we start off with the big news of the week that welcoming home Tre White, the best goalie in Western New York. He comes back after a year away. Does his return change anything for you heading into the draft?
I don't know. I want to say no, but it feels like yes. He played pretty well with the Ravens. Last year was sort of a resurgent year for him. He didn't play at an all-pro level, but he played well enough to start for Baltimore. And so I think it was good just to see him get through a year healthy. I think he can definitely be that guy opposite of Christian Benford. And I'll say this. I think it makes it so we don't need one or need a corner in the first round that we can wait until the second because we don't need him to play right away.
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody who watched the post conference, the press conference, it was good to his emotion coming back was it was so good to see because out of all last year obviously everyone wrote the Bills off because of everybody they got rid of. Tre was kind of the one that was like, man, that one hurt the most because of he was there from the get-go with Ian McDermott. He was one of those building blocks. He was passionate. He loved Western New York. He embraced it. So it was really tough to see him go, especially the way it ended, like you said, with the injuries. And this year he stayed healthy, got better as the year went on after a major injury, which is kind of what you expect. And then this should be his back to normal type year. And it's not like he's ancient either.
No, he's 29, 30 years old. Yeah. So I think he still has a couple of years potentially left in the tank. I don't know. Tre is one of my favorite Bills of all time. I just love how good he was, how much he just went to work. He never complained. The team loves him. Josh loves him. As you said, he loves the Bills. I would love it to be of something where he was after he was done with the game, something him or Hyde, they were able to stay on and coach. I just think that he's a great Bill. So I was really excited that he came back.
Yeah, and I saw somewhere that they talked about he raised the floor of cornerback too, which is true. At that, we had Dane Jackson, Ingram, right? And so at the minimum, Tre has raised the floor of what cornerback 2 will be.
Yeah.
Bills don't have to wonder. Every free agent is always projecting, all right, does he fit our system no matter what we've seen on tape? The Bills know he does. They know he knows the system. He knows Western New York. And like you said, it doesn't pigeonhole us in. That was the biggest need, the glaring need for the Bills heading into tomorrow's draft was cornerback 2 was easily the weakest link on the roster.
Yep.
And like you said, now it doesn't have to be forced, which I think can prevent something like Elam, where I feel like that year we drafted Elam, it was such an obvious we have to get a cornerback that they reached for somebody they didn't truly believe in just to be like, all right, we drafted a corner.
Right.
So I feel like that's not going to be the case. Like you said, I think it could be a good case to maybe draft Siobhan Revel out of ECU, right, who has an injury. You don't have to rush him back and could be that, and Tre can kind of be that bridge guy.
100%.
So your expectations for Tre White in 2025 are what?
He starts 17 games.
At what level?
I expect, I expect it to be something where we don't have to worry about it, right? Again, I don't anticipate he'll be back at an All-Pro level. I mean, there's a lot of really good corners out there, but I'm hoping that it was sort of like Rasul was, not last year, but the year before last. We didn't have to worry about it. He made the occasional splash play. And it was one of those things where it's like we could complain about the pass rush, but we knew that we didn't have to complain about the secondary back in 2003. That's what I'm hoping that he'll do. Is that this year? Okay, we can. All right, Rousseau's not getting pressure. Ed's not getting it done, and we're complaining about the front seven, but we don't have to worry about the back end of the defense.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, pretty standard for us.
Yeah. We will find something to complain about.
I sure will.
But I don't know anybody who's not happy about it. Some people are like, oh, like, he's not the same Tre White, but it's still, I'd rather, like, if he's going to be a depth guy, I'd rather have him than Dane Jackson on the field.
Sure would.
So Tre White back in Buffalo for at least a year. Great to see it. He told his agent, Buffalo or nobody. And then it was funny. I think the funniest thing out of that was Josh Allen saying he doesn't go on social media. Went back to OTAs and like, hold on, is that Tre here? Not even realized that they brought back somebody like that. It was pretty funny.
Come on, Josh. But, although you would have thought somebody would have texted him,
right? I think maybe he might have been playing that one up for the media.
Yeah, sure.
But our next topic, moving on, is to move or not to move. Brandon Beane in his pre-draft interview talked about there not being 30 first-round grades. That's not a surprise. Like you said, the number is fairly low.
12.
Like around, yeah. So we know Brandon Beane likes to move. So the question is he going to move up to try to get one of those 12 guys with combining our 10 picks, or is he going to move back and try to get more early? What's your thoughts on that?
I think we're going to move back. I don't know. I just, we've got 3 higher draft picks, the 30th, the 62nd, and 59th or something like that. And so it's not like we have enough capital to reach up and move up to 15 or 12 and grab one of those top tier guys that they have a first round grade on. And plus, they say that the second round is where most of the bargain is. And so I would love, for me anyways, to trade back with, somebody who's picking in the second round in the first 5 picks, still get a guy with a, questionable late first, second round grade, get Amos, the cornerback, or that safety out of Georgia, Malachi or
Starks. Yeah. Starks.
I would love, either one of those guys in the early seconds and, maybe recoup a third round. And so therefore we have 3 picks in the second round, get guys that can fill voids in the roster, and start preparing for the future. Cause that's, as we talked before, like we need to prepare for, the secondary, and we need to potentially get another receiver, get another defensive end. And so, the second and third round is where a lot of the value is. So I don't see us moving up into the 20-ish range. I think we'd probably rather move back to, 1 to 5 on day 2.
And you mentioned our picks. We have 3 in the top 62, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But our last pick in the second round is the 62nd overall pick. Then the Bills do not draft again until pick 109. So 60. So you know that's not, Brandon Beane does not want to wait that long.
No.
So in our mock draft we did a few weeks ago, you had the Bills trading back with a team that needed a quarterback, which to me is the ideal situation of if Jackson Dart, Milroe can be there, and the Bills at 30 with a team like the Giants or the Browns maybe pass on Shedeur early on. I think that's the ideal situation. And you mentioned Amos, which everyone's doing their final mock drafts. They like Daniel Jeremiah and all them. Amos is a very popular. So if we could, with the Bills can maneuver the board to get him in the second round pick of a third round pick, that would be really good move by Beane.
Yeah. And even then, right? If we pick up a third, well, it doesn't preclude Bean from taking one of our other seconds and that third and moving up. And now we have 3 picks in the second round versus having one in the third. So yeah, and I just after what we did last year, moving back 5-6 picks and getting Keon, I just think it makes too much sense for us, just because again, the cost to move up to 20 all of a sudden in the first 3 rounds. Now we don't have 3 picks. Maybe we only have 1, or we have 1 in our 62nd pick. And I just don't think that's Bean's approach.
Yeah. And we know, as much as everyone thinks D-line is a strength, like they spend so much money on it, they have 2 guys suspended for a third of the year to start the year. And then they're going to have to get back into football shape after 6 weeks away. Can you rely on Bosa? So having more picks in this type of draft, I think, is better than moving up for 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think the strength of this draft is its depth in the 2nd to 5th round.
Yep.
So moving it will be Bills fans. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till pick 30. You're going to be 3.5 hours in, and some Bills fans will probably be not so happy when the Bills don't even pick tomorrow night and have to wait till.
That's what happened. Happened last year.
Happened last year. But if you're a fan of the draft, that's the fun stuff. There's just wondering what's going to happen, who's going to do what.
Yeah.
And a little off Bills topic, Shedeur Sanders seems to be.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
If he falls down to there, that could really. But I saw a mock that didn't have him. I thought, man, that guy's crazy. But now I'm seeing all this stuff about that might not be so crazy if Shedeur not even going in the first round. So your thoughts on what you're hearing in the last 24 hours?
I mean, what I was just reading today was just it's things like he didn't interview well. He seems really arrogant. Little things like they were saying that his teammates didn't go to his birthday party. They didn't like how I talked to my wife about this earlier in the year of him blaming his offensive line. Even if it is their fault as the leader of the team, it's you. You're the problem, even when you're not the problem, right? And so it's just more how he's handled himself. And again, I sort of felt the same way about Caleb Williams last year, about how he was almost too famous. But yeah, I just think that I just think so. I still think he'll go in the first round. And who knows, maybe all of this is just people putting things out so they can try to move up. That's the other part about this, that it's hard to actually know is what's real and what's, smoke screens and other nonsense from, teams trying to get him to fall so that maybe they don't have to move up to 5 to get him. They can go to 15. But I have not been impressed with him much of the year. So no. I would, if I were to venture a guess, I think he'll fall somewhere in the 20s before someone will scoop up. He's not going to fall into the second. We've seen plenty of quarterback go well before they should. You know what I mean? If Kenny Pickett was a late first round pick, well, I think Shedeur Sanders will also likely go in the late first round.
Yeah, if he falls to the Steelers, I think they'd have a hard time passing him up. And be very
2.0.
And it's funny because the Steelers are linked to Aaron Rodgers, and what happened to Aaron Rodgers? He free fell from potential number 1 pick with Alex Smith all the way to the 20s with the Packers.
Yeah.
So, and have you ever watched Draft Day?
I've not actually.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned people not going to Shedeur Sanders' birthday party. In that movie with Kevin Costner, the quarterback that they're trying to be is he really the quarterback to pick number 1? The coach in that movie says nobody went to his birthday party. So it's kind of funny. An actual movie is actually a reason that people are saying Shedeur is going to fall. I watch Draft Day every year before the draft, so I'll be watching that tomorrow. Just to get pumped for the draft.
I can't believe I haven't ever seen it, because isn't it a true story?
No.
Oh, never mind.
But it was the Bills were going to be the featured team instead of the Browns, but they didn't give the film tax cuts, so it ended up being Cleveland instead.
Trash.
But Russ Brandon's in it because the Browns do call the Bills, and actually they got NFL executives from other teams to actually be in the film as themselves.
Nice.
So it's on Vudu. Well, our Vudu. We'll give it a watch. But anyway, moving on from that, I have a crush on you. Which player is this year's Bills draft crush for you?
For me, it's a guy that I've mentioned numerous times. It's a position that we don't necessarily need, but something I think of Josh and I'm like, man, what would he do with Matthew Golden?
Mm.
What would he do with somebody who had that kind of speed, who could really open it up? I mean, the Chiefs got a guy like that and Xavier Worthy, but Matthew Golden, he's got size to him. I think he's over 6 foot, about 180, 190 pounds. So he has a little bit more meat to his bones. We obviously know Josh has an amazing arm, but it's rare that his guys get wide open, and we definitely have nobody with that true track star type speed. And so he's a guy for which, man, if he was there at 18, 20, I'm like, all right, Bean, we can mortgage the future a little bit. We got Tre White. We don't need a corner, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy for which I think that'd be awesome, because anything else, right? You say Abdul Carter, like there's no way we're moving up into the top 3. But Matthew Golden was one that I watched saw Peter Schrager's mock draft, for which it sucked. Like, it was not a good one at all. Like, things that just are not going to happen.
Yeah.
But he had Golden fall into like 23 or 25. I don't think that'll happen. But again, like, if he started to make it to the late teens, 18, 19, or early 20s, they'd be like, Bean, what are you doing, huh? You want to get a guy?
And that's like last year we wanted Bills to do that with Brian Thomas. Like, saying,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Brian Thomas.
And look what he did with kind of less than ideal quarterback playing Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, he was phenomenal.
So yeah, you've had a crush on Golden throughout this process, that's for sure.
What about you?
No, I would like Golden too, but just to change it up, I've mentioned this before. Josh Farmer, defensive tackle from Florida State, not a round 1 guy, but somebody I've listened to interviews with. I like watching play. He's versatile, I like his personality, and the Bills wants like versatile defensive linemen. So that D tackle out of Florida State is somebody I would like the Bills to get in round 2 or 3. And he's been mocked to the Bills in round 2 quite frequently. So
I didn't realize that we were going outside of round 1, because I definitely have a different answer in general. And you know who it is, baby.
I know.
Desmond Watson. That would be so awesome. I mean, I think he's a 5th, 6th round guy, so it very well could be the case. But just somebody who's a massive, 460, 6'6". I mean, I think he's probably got to lose 100 pounds, but man, somebody for which, if he could lose and a massive amount of weight, I think could be a really good player, a steal, just because, I mean, it's somebody that we could really use, just a body that due to pure size, you have to double team him. He stuffs the middle. And obviously a first down or obvious running situations only, but he could be a tush push ender.
Yeah, we need that. And he's at least wise enough to realize, he said, like, I need to lose weight. So at least he's self-conscious enough and be like, all right, I have this, but this is just for you and I. He reminds me of Mike Gilbert.
Yeah.
Something very big without much production. So obviously a better version of that, but you get the picture. If we're going to go, so you want somebody, I'll go a first round crush, Emeka Egbuka. That's a little bit of my Ohio State fandom coming in.
Oh, the receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be the all-time leading receiver in Ohio State history is something. He's not the burner that Golden is. I would take Golden over Egbuka, even though I love him. Mm-hmm. But if he falls to the Bills at 30, that'd be to me. He does the dirty work. He's a blocker, which the Bills love. He'd take the Mac Hollins role, but have a much higher ceiling.
Yeah.
To me.
No, and that's, I wouldn't hate that pick whatsoever. You're right. I think he very much fits what the Bills do. It reminds me of, kind of like Shakir, right? A dude for which great hands, trust. You can run the entire route tree. Good blocker. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be a bad pick at all. That very much would be a Bills kind of pick.
Yeah, but so that leads us to our conclusion, which is our closing thoughts heading into tomorrow night. Let's start with this. What would you be unhappy with happening tomorrow? Like, what would the Bills do that would be like just make your blood boil?
If we took a running back in the first round, I would be pretty mad. I think offensive line too. I just don't see that as one of our top needs. The other thing is if we went and mortgaged a lot of our picks, say we took one of our seconds this year and a second next year, and we moved up and took a guy like Mike Edwards. Is that the defensive end from who am I thinking of?
Mike Green?
Mike Green, there we go. Sorry.
From Marshall, yeah.
Yeah, Marshall. Like a dude for which he has, on paper, great upside, but it's just so it's Marshall, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just, if you're going to move up, take a guy for which it seems like they're a proven commodity, or just don't take a position need, or even so I think running back, offensive line, or linebacker, those are three things that I don't really love. I mean, you could make an argument that this is Matt Milano's last year, so a guy like the Jihad, the dude from Alabama, you could make an argument that if he's there, he's worth taking. But yeah, I would just running back for sure. I would be so annoyed if we moved up to take like Omari and Hampton.
Right. Now, what if that was coupled with a Cook trade?
I was going to say the only way that I'd be fine with it is if it was our first and James Cook, and then okay, whatever.
Okay, so for me, I'm with you. Running back, I don't want to give away picks next year. I think the Bills are starting to do what the Eagles are doing, like getting young guys in positions. Like maybe the next year they'll need to start. They did it with Bishop. They did it with Bernard. Right. Benford, I think, was a little earlier than they anticipated, but they're starting to do that. So I hope the Bills keep their valuable early picks and then do that. I would not want a safety. I do not want a safety at all. We just drafted Cole Bishop in the second round. Rapp had, I think, his best year as a pro, and he's still under contract. To me, I don't think safety is a round one pick. So if the Bills draft a safety tomorrow, I will not be happy with that.
But that's the thing. That's one thing I can. I mean, so many people have us mocked with either the one from South Carolina or the one from Georgia, and I sort of wondered why. But a lot of these guys are so versatile that in a way it's almost like a big nickel, where you swap out a linebacker for one of these safeties, especially these bigger ones that can come up, they can hit, play the run. So if they did draft it, I wouldn't think it's more so to replace Rapp. I don't know. I wouldn't be as upset about safety as you.
To me, it's just a luxury pick.
Sure.
But if they're going to do what you said, Rapp's first year is when they would bring him in. We have Hyde, Poyer, and Rapp. So that'd be more of I think what you're thinking of how they use that three safety tandem.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the spectrum, your ideal, I'm super happy moment, what would the Bills have to do to make you feel like that tomorrow night?
Well, outside of getting Golden for a reasonable move up, if somebody like Maxwell Harrison fell to us and we could get him without having to move up, that would be super awesome. Or even more so, we trade back into the early. Sorry, cat. We trade back into the early second, accrued a third round pick, and we're still able to get one of those top corners. I'm with you. I really like the idea of drafting that one out of FSU, ECU.
Siobhan
ECU, yeah. So because he's hurt, so that gosh, if he for some reason fell and we got him in the early second, I think that would be phenomenal. Because as you said, we're in a much better position today than we were a few days ago with having Tre back. Now, I'm sure some of that is our sentimental feeling about Tre and what he had done with us in the past. But just watching him last year and that penalty he got against Baltimore, it wasn't a penalty. He had great coverage, and so like he played so well in that game. I'm really hopeful and optimistic for him, and I think it's So I think getting one of the top corners, without having to move up or early in the second, that would be that's a win.
Yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength there. A fallback with getting one of the corners would be fantastic. I would be, and like you said, Golden falling there, Ibuka, I would be really happy with.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Bills do trade back, some of you haven't talked about the defensive end out of Boston College we talked about in our mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we had the Bills taken in the early second round with a trade back. I'm thinking that's a move. You talk about somebody, he played at BC, 17 sacks. Going for a boom pick like that the Bills can afford to do that.
Right.
He's not going to be asked, like he's going to have Rousseau, he's going to have Bosa, the other defensive ends. He's not going to be asked to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
But moving back would be the best, even though most Bills fans would be like really mad they stayed up till 11 or later Eastern to watch them do nothing.
Actually, I have one better. Because I'm so tired of even thinking about it, and just his brother now tweeting out 20 million. I think in some way after tomorrow, James Cook is no longer a Buffalo Bill, and that's what we leverage to move up and take somebody. And again, it's not because I don't think he's awesome. I wish that we could keep him, but like all this stuff, like I don't want to go into training camp with dealing with James Cook's holding and James Cook this, and hey Josh, we think all this, hey Josh this, hey Sean. Like I don't want to be a conversation whatsoever, other than now with James Cook's gone, how do you feel? I feel confident with the guys we currently have in the locker room, whatever answer. So yes, if it was the Bills are move up to the 23rd pick, what do they have to give up? Pick number 30 and James Cook, and I think that would be phenomenal for us.
Yeah, and maybe the Bills should have a policy of let's not draft or get players whose brothers are in the NFL, because you think of what Diggs' brother was doing the whole time, the last 2 years in Buffalo, just jabbing at the Bills online all the time, and now you're seeing Dalvin Cook doing it to James, two players that aren't even in Buffalo, just like online jabbing the Bills in the front office. Yeah. So I'd be okay if we kind of maybe adopt a policy. All right, we're not going to deal with you because your brother's an idiot.
Or this trading him does send the message of, hey, we will pay you, but as long as you keep it in house. If you go out, then that's as good as saying I want to be traded.
Yeah, and that would send a real good message.
Yeah.
So that is our pre-draft show on this NFL Draft Eve. We will be live tomorrow after the first round. Whenever that is, we will be doing our thoughts and reactions to the Bills and any other big moves from the night. It seems like it's one of the most nobody has any idea what's going to happen type drafts outside of Cam Ward going 1. Nobody really seems, we assume, but like nobody really knows after that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Cam Ward being the number 1 overall pick. Like, if someone would have told you that in August, you would have been like, no way. I just don't get it. Like, now I understand somebody has to go number 1 overall. I understand that. But it just comes down to, and you think back of years past, think back to the Reggie Bush, Mario Williams days where it was true, like, gosh, who really is going to go number 1? Or Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, like 2 dudes that were like super successful in college. Like Cam Ward, Miami didn't even make the playoff. Colorado sucked, and Penn State was. I mean, they made the national or the playoff. Yeah, I'm just like, these are the guys. Like, their teams didn't do hardly anything. I don't know. It's so strange to me that he's going to go likely number 1 overall when it just seems what?
I think it's part of the Josh Allen effect of they see somebody who has tools, and like, all right, Josh wasn't that successful as a college player in terms of like his completion percentage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's everyone's saying, right. But they don't realize just how impossible what the Bills did with Josh is.
Yeah.
Like what Josh has done is pretty much unprecedented in the NFL of turning his completion percentage doesn't go up in the NFL. It goes down unless you're doing dink and dunks. Josh doesn't dink and dunk. And there was a draft headline after the Bills drafted Josh Allen saying if Josh Allen succeeds, the Bills have outsmarted the entire NFL because of just how crazy it is. But NFL teams see it happen, like, all right, let's do it. Anthony Richardson was drafted. I 100% because of Josh Allen. He's garbage. Yeah. But like you said, I think Cam Ward, like, oh, look at he can do Josh type things. But that's not like counting on winning the lottery.
Because in all reality, right? Like if we're just taking emotions and things out of it, wouldn't you rather either draft somebody like Carter or Hunter or somebody, and then in a way like, well, maybe we'll hopefully suck to get Arch Manning?
Yep.
Right? Because I mean, I think he's going to be good next year. I think Arch is going to be the clear in a way number one favorite next year.
There'll be a mad dash for him next year.
Well, let's just hope he goes to the NFC because I'm sick and tired of all these freaking quarterbacks going to the AFC.
Right. And then the Titans too. I think they'd be better off drafting Carter than taking Jackson Dart in the second round.
Mm-hmm. Get 100%, dude. 100.
But I
think moving back,
yes,
right? Like,
let somebody else take Cam Ward.
Yeah, exactly. Because Dart, I don't know if this is your opinion, but I think Dart is the best quarterback in the draft based on just my limited everything. I like Lane Kiffin. I think he was in he's much more pro ready. He has the accuracy. He has the arm. I just like Dart. I like Dart a lot.
Yeah, I think a year or two from now it'll be like, man, what were they like the best quarterbacks in Josh's draft?
Mm-hmm.
The two last drafted in the first round, Lamar and Josh.
Well, Rosen was 10, but yeah.
Well,
I got you. Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean Baker, right? Baker. Anyways, Baker was number one, but
so there's that. But that's the draft. That's the excitement of the draft. You don't know, especially this year. Is Shedeur going to fall? And then it seems draft day, there's always something crazy that leaks about a player that wasn't out there before.
Mm-hmm.
You think of Larry Tunsil with his
gas
mask.
Gas mask.
Like Josh, the day before the draft was his tweets from when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
So what's going to come out tomorrow that maybe, and it affected both. It affects players. Tunsil fell pretty hard because of that.
Yeah.
And some of the Georgia defensive linemen fell to the Eagles because of their stuff that leaked ahead of time. So
yeah. The other thing too is I think we need to remember like there's dudes that and the other one that really comes to mind is somebody like Micah Parsons who's up for a humongous contract. Right? What is Jerry's already paying so many guys a ton of money. Like, does he somehow leverage Micah Parsons in the first round pick to move up to number 2 or number 3 overall? Right? Like,
who's going to be the player? Who's going to be the player traded that day? You mentioned James Cook. You mentioned Parsons. There's been rumors of Jameson Williams being floated out there before the Lions had to pay him a big contract. So
yeah,
a lot of moves, lots of possibilities, a lot of excitement. We will be on tomorrow night. Thank you everyone for stopping in on episode 3 of SSBills Talk. For Dr. Dungan, I am Lawrence Foster. As always, we close it with
Go Bills.